name's Aadam Burt. I was born in Bermuda, down by the south side of Bermuda. It's a very small island, not a very high population at all. It's one of those islands where everyone knows everyone. My mum was British. She came from somewhere near Brighton and Portsmouth, a town named Worthing. She moved to Bermuda when she was about 19, 20, so she moved there when she was quite young. She met my dad, then me and my sister were raised there. I left Bermuda about 4. We came to England. I went back to my mum's hometown, Worthing, where I lived for most of my life. I grew up in a very white-orientated community or area. There weren't that many black people. Later on in my life, I came to move to Norwich. Came here. I started meeting a lot of people that had a lot more similar backgrounds to me. And I feel that I only really found out who I was when I really got put in a situation where I didn't know a lot of people. And I kind of, almost in a way, met yourself. I faced a little bit of racism. I say it like that because, I don't know, racism and bullying was difficult. It was difficult. It was hard to find anyone that really understood it. Like, especially racism. Like, my mum, she's white British, and although she was my mum and she comforted me the best that she could, it was very different than talking to, let's say, my dad about it or something like that, because it wasn't in the same field. I think that my friends would describe me as someone as outspoken. Whoever anyone is, I'm not afraid to confront them about it if I feel that what they're saying needs to be questioned. Appearance-wise, how do my friends view me? I probably think they view me as mixed race. A mixed race individual and things like that. But yeah, I'll probably say they view me as confident, handsome, obviously. Yeah. In the end, I picked Tonia Mihill as my local role model. After finding out a lot about her and, finding out what she's about and what she represents, I started realizing that I had quite a lot in common with her. I mean, she came from something very similar to me, where she came from a very small town and, where there wasn't a lot of people that had a similar cultural background to her. And, and instantly I thought, that sounds so familiar to my own story. So one of the first questions I have for you is, what was it like growing up in an area that was mainly white populated or things like that for you?
Yes.
I mean, what was that like?
My memory is that I was about 7 or 8 when I started becoming aware of people calling me names. So that was the real point at which it was like a big break for me between this sort of, when I think about it now, it's almost like that idyllic time when you're so little, you're not even aware of yourself.
Yeah.
And that sort of did carry on throughout my childhood and schooling with different intervals. It didn't happen necessarily all the time, but it was definitely a factor. And I never talked to anyone about it.
I can kind of share that. I mean, I came from a town where first school was primary school was very similar to that. Didn't really have a care in the world. Me and my sister, the only other mixed race or whatever person was my own sister. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking back on some of my first school pictures, and I noticed that I really did look quite dark compared to everyone else. And then, like you said, I mean, I can completely relate to that, because, I mean, when I hit middle school, then I started realising that, all these people are starting to say things, or are starting to realise that maybe they didn't realise when they were 5.
Exactly, when you're all just playing together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can kind of relate to that. I completely understand where you're coming from. Once I started figuring out, what she did outside and what she did majorly and how she affected the community locally, I started realizing that this woman is something quite amazing in what she's done. She comes from something very similar to me, and she's done all this. And it was inspiring. It was inspiring for me, because I thought about she came from the same kind of situation, and she managed to do all that coming out of that. And it started making me think, well, what can I do? So what would you say was your biggest success, throughout all these projects or throughout everything that you've been through and things like that?
It's hard for me to say whether one thing is successful, one thing isn't successful. I really do feel proud to have started Black History Month. I think that was a positive, so I feel I feel kind of proud of that.
Yeah.
Because it came definitely out of all that I'd understood about what I'd experienced, what people like perhaps you and I might need to be happening in this area, and then we did it, and it's still going. So I do feel really good about that. And I suppose maybe the other thing is just sort of being myself, doing what I'm doing, if you see what I mean, and over the years just trying to keep that going, aside from all the pressures to be one thing or another.
No, Tonia was definitely something big for me. Exactly when I spoke to her and I started hearing her story, so many things sounded so familiar to me. It was ridiculous. It was almost like she actually just took like the memories out of my head and then said them. And it was amazing. It was definitely something memorable. Definitely, 100%. The thing about having a role model is that the more you find out about them, the more shocking and amazing they seem to come to you. And I felt that Daley Thompson was something like that. Where do you think Daley Thompson places amongst, British Olympians, or whereabouts he stands?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't know if you realised the other day there was a little you could say a little Barney. I think Steve Redgrave, who's won 4 Olympic gold medals in rowing, didn't have Daley Thompson in his top 10, I think, British Olympians. And for some of us, how could he not be in it, right? Because you have to put Daley Thompson up there, amongst the best, not just in British Olympians, but in terms of track and field athletes, amongst all-time, in the modern era, all-time, Olympians. Yeah. So it's quite shocking to see that someone like Steve Redgrave didn't have him in the list. But as I said, to win 1 gold medal is great. To defend it is fantastic. To be unbeaten in 9 years, is unheard of.
Before this project, no. I'd never really heard of him in my life. Never really heard of him in anything to do with school or anything like that. Why? I really don't know. I mean, looking back on it, I really don't know why he wasn't someone to be taught about, especially during like PE or history, or even recently with the Olympic Games, and they talked about past athletes. I never actually really heard his name, and I think to myself, why? It seems like such an injustice, seeming that he achieved so much greatly that he should be recognised for this. Lessons I'll probably take from this, and even future careers, is to probably look deeper than what there really is. I mean, my national role model originally, I look at him now and I think, why did I pick that guy when all these other ones were about? I mean, why didn't I really kind of look a little bit further? I seem to go with the stereotype, or go with what was it everyone else was going, or the person that seemed to be on TV the most. And I think to myself, why did I go for that? There's other ones out there that achieve so much greater and so much more. It wasn't until we did this project and I started meeting individuals, finding out more about people locally that do things majorly, that I start to realize that these people are just as much as a role model to me as the bigger national ones or international ones. This project has completely made me understand more that there's other people out there that have been through certain things that are similar or to me, or have done things in which I would say is amazing and all inspiring. And I feel that as a young person, you need something like that, something to keep you motivating, something to say like, I have something in common. I have someone here important to me that keeps me going. Yeah.